The most dangerous moment is not always when a narcissist gets angry. It is often the moment they finally understand that you are never coming back. That is when things can turn quiet, cold, and much more calculated than people expect. They do not always beg, they do not always cry, they do not always explode. Sometimes they do something far more controlled and far more unsettling. When they truly see that you are done for good, the first thing they feel is not heartbreak in the healthy sense. It is the total loss of control. And for them, control was never just part of the relationship. Control was the relationship. It was the system they used to manage their emotions, protect their image, and avoid the deep insecurity and emptiness sitting underneath everything. As long as you might still reply, argue, defend yourself, explain, or react with emotion, they still believe they have some power over you. Even a small reaction can feel like leverage to them. But when you stop for real, when your silence is not a pause, but a permanent decision, that leverage disappears. And that is where this gets serious. Because what shakes them is not only losing you, it is losing access to your inner world. They can no longer pull your strings. They can no longer predict your emotions. They can no longer place themselves at the center of your emotional life. And for someone who depends on influence to feel stable, that kind of loss can feel like internal collapse. Healthy people can feel powerless and still accept reality, even when it hurts. They may grieve, they may struggle, but eventually they adjust. A narcissist often cannot do that in the same way. Powerlessness does not just feel uncomfortable to them. It can trigger shame, panic, insecurity, and the feeling that their carefully built identity is cracking. If you can leave and stay gone, it directly challenges the story they tell themselves about being irresistible, superior, necessary, or impossible to replace. Your freedom becomes proof that their influence was never as complete as they believed, and that truth is hard for them to carry. So instead of facing it honestly, they usually defend against it. They may suddenly act as if you never mattered. They may downplay everything you gave. They may convince themselves that they were the one who moved on first, or that they never wanted you deeply anyway. These are not always simple lies told on purpose. Many times they are mental defense systems. The mind bends reality so they do not have to feel the full weight of rejection, weakness, or shame. And here is what makes this stage so intense. There is no easy fix left. They cannot charm you back. They cannot fight you back. They cannot guilt you back. They cannot bait you into one more emotional scene if you are truly finished. Without your attention, they are left alone with feelings they do not know how to regulate. And when that happens, the result is often more coldness, more resentment, more rigidity, and a deeper need to restore a sense of dominance somewhere, somehow. When direct control is gone, they often move into something much quieter. It can look like distance, but it is not true distance. It is silent watching. This is where many people get confused because it does not always look dramatic from the outside. They may not call. They may not text. They may not openly try to get you back. But they may watch from far away. They may check your social media often. They may notice who likes your posts. They may ask mutual friends casual questions that are not casual at all. They may gather tiny details from people around you, not because they miss you in a healthy way, but because information still gives them a feeling of contact and control. Reaching out directly would mean risking rejection. Watching from a distance protects their ego while still feeding their need to know. And what are they looking for? Usually one of two things. They want proof that you are suffering, or they want a sign that you are vulnerable. If you look broken, lost, lonely, or stuck, that can comfort them because it supports the fantasy that you still needed them. But if you look peaceful, productive, healed, or happy, that can hit them much harder than people realize. Your ability to live well without them creates a deep discomfort. It breaks the old story. It says you survived. It says their absence did not destroy you. And that is the part they often cannot stand. Stay with me because this next part matters even more. Sometimes the silence is not absence. Sometimes it is monitoring in disguise. That silent monitoring often has a second purpose. They are not only checking whether you are okay, they are scanning for openings, a sad post, a breakup, a hard season, a career problem, a family loss, a lonely moment, anything that might make you more reachable than before. This is why contact can happen months or even years after the ending, often right when you think they have disappeared for good. In their mind, time does not always mean closure. Time can mean opportunity. The longer they wait, the more they may believe your defenses are softer, your memory is foggier, or your boundaries are weaker. There can also be something punishing in this silent distance. By refusing to engage openly while still keeping track of you, they create a strange power move. Silence becomes a message. It says, "You do not matter," while their actions secretly prove the opposite. They may want you to think they are gone, while still holding on to the fantasy that they occupy space in your mind. This is not healthy letting go. It is control through invisibility. And underneath it is often entitlement. They may truly feel they have a right to know what is happening in your life because once you served a psychological purpose for them. Even after the relationship ends, that sense of ownership may remain. They can feel justified watching from the shadows, as if your life is still partly connected to theirs, even when you have made it clear that it is not. And if you have ever felt unsettled by that possibility, you are not imagining it, because the connection may be over in reality, but inside their mind, they may still be trying to preserve it, not through love, but through relevance, access, and the refusal to fully accept that they are now outside your world.
When they become sure that you are not returning,
another shift often begins. They move into image repair. This is not real growth. It is not honest self-reflection. It is a strategy. Your permanent exit creates a crack in the version of themselves they want others to believe. Being left, rejected, or abandoned feels humiliating to them because it suggests weakness. And weakness is something they often cannot emotionally hold. So instead of working through the loss inside themselves, they focus outward. They start managing how the story looks. The truth matters less than the appearance. They may retell events in softer, cleaner, more flattering ways. Certain facts disappear. Other details get stretched. You may slowly be turned into the difficult one, the unstable one, the cold one, the ungrateful one, the impossible one. And what makes this more disturbing is that it is not always delivered with open cruelty. Sometimes it is calm, smooth, convincing.
They may speak with confidence because in that moment,
They believe their own version. The goal is not truth. The goal is survival of the ego. If they accepted real responsibility, they would have to face shame. And shame for them can feel unbearable. So responsibility is replaced by excuses, blame, rewriting, and emotional editing. They do not ask, "What did I do?" They ask, "How do I protect the story?" This is why narrative control becomes so important. If they can control how others see the breakup, they can avoid feeling the full meaning of it themselves. And yes, this part can get darker than most people expect.
image repair does something else too.
It helps them rebuild emotional supply from the outside. If you are no longer there to regulate them, then they often look for sympathy, validation, loyalty, and reassurance from other people, friends, relatives, coworkers, online followers, even casual listeners can all become pieces in that process. Every person who agrees with them becomes proof that they are still right, still admirable, still the injured party, still the one who deserves support. This is why they may talk about the situation in ways that make them seem misunderstood, mistreated, or unfairly judged. External validation becomes a temporary brace holding up a fragile inner structure. The more shaken they feel inside, the more they may need the outside world to mirror back comfort, innocence, or superiority. And this is where your silence can become especially painful.
If you do not defend yourself,
If you do not argue, if you do not correct every lie, they may take that silence and treat it like permission. Without contradiction, they can keep building the story in the direction that protects them best. The less pushback they feel, the more confident they may become in their rewritten version of events. To you, your silence may be dignity. It may be peace. It may be self-protection. But to them, it can look like open territory. That does not mean you should break no contact to explain yourself to every person. It means you must understand what may be happening when you choose not to play the game. And this is important. None of this is proof of strength. It is proof of fragility under layers of polish, control, and performance. The louder the image management becomes, the more likely it is that something shaky is happening underneath. At this stage, many people notice something confusing. The narcissist may start looking happier than ever. Suddenly, they appear glowing, busy, accomplished, deeply moral, spiritually elevated, wildly successful, or perfectly unbothered. But these displays are often not signs of peace. They are props. They are emotional stage design. The message is simple. I am thriving. Your absence meant nothing. I lost nothing important. But if the display has to be pushed that hard, that often tells you something by itself. Real healing does not usually need so much performance. Real peace is not obsessed with making sure everyone sees it. When the inside feels shaken, the outside may become more polished, more dramatic, more public. The achievements may be exaggerated. The happiness may feel too loud. The moral superiority may become sharper. All of it works like emotional camouflage. It hides the deeper wound created by your permanent absence. Because what hurt them was not simply losing a person. It was losing influence, losing predictability, losing control, losing a familiar mirror that helped hold their identity together. And now we come to one of the most confusing parts of all. Sometimes, after all that silence and distance, the direct attempts to pull you back do not disappear forever. They just change timing. This is where delayed hoovering often begins. Not right away, not when the wound is fresh, not when rejection feels too likely. Later. After some time has passed, after enough distance has softened the original scene, after they believe they can re-enter without looking desperate. Watch this pattern closely, because when it happens, it can feel strangely random, even though it usually is not. Delayed hoovering is rarely impulsive. It is often strategic. Reaching out too soon would risk another rejection, and that would confirm the exact loss of control they are trying so hard to escape. So they wait. Time gives them cover. It gives them emotional distance from the original injury. It also feeds a fantasy that your boundaries may be softer now. They may believe that once enough months or years pass, the old pain will lose its edge and your defenses will naturally weaken. And here is the key point. This is usually less about deep love and more about entitlement. Emotionally healthy people understand that some relationships truly end, but narcissistic people often do not process endings that way. To them, old relationships can feel more like stored resources than closed chapters. Even after a long silence, they may still feel strangely justified in returning, not because real repair has happened, but because they never fully accepted your autonomy in the first place. In their mind, access was interrupted, not necessarily ended. That is why the return can come in such careful packaging. A neutral message, a soft check-in, a memory from the past, a shallow apology that sounds gentle but avoids real accountability, a crisis that seems to invite your compassion. The tone is often much softer than before because open aggression did not work. But the real goal is not always reconciliation. The real test is responsiveness. Do you answer? Do you soften? Do you open the door even 1 inch? Because to them, the response itself may matter more than the words. A short reply can feel like proof that access still exists when your life no longer revolves around the damage. Your stability can challenge them. Your growth can irritate them. Your emotional freedom can create a fresh discomfort because it proves they are no longer central in your inner world. So the message appears not always to rebuild love, often to test significance. Do they still matter? Can they still create movement inside you? Can they still cause a pause, a reaction, a feeling, even briefly? And while doing this, they may also quietly rewrite the past inside their own mind so that the return feels acceptable. Enough time has passed, they tell themselves. The conflict was mutual. The pain was exaggerated. Everyone made mistakes. It was all a misunderstanding. This mental editing lowers their shame and makes contact easier. In this revised story, they are no longer the one who caused real harm. They become the mature one, the kind one, the person extending closure, peace, or goodwill. Now you are the one being measured. Will you be compassionate, forgiving, mature, understanding? The whole frame changes in a way that protects their ego and places emotional weight back on your side. This is why even a nice message from them can feel strangely destabilizing. It may look harmless on the surface while carrying a very different psychological purpose underneath. And if you have ever felt thrown off by the timing, there is usually a reason for that. The deeper reason all of this happens is because once you are truly gone, they often need to rewrite the past itself. Not just the public story, the internal story too. The real history of the relationship threatens the image they hold of themselves. So memory becomes flexible. Painful facts get softened. Cruel moments get minimized. Patterns of manipulation get reframed as normal reactions. Your boundaries get remembered as betrayal. Your hurt gets relabeled as drama. Your attempts to protect yourself become evidence in their version that you were the problem. Over time, this rewriting can become so complete that the altered story feels more emotionally accessible to them than the truth. This does not always mean they are consciously planning a lie every second. It often means their mind is editing reality in the direction of self-protection. Shame sits at the center of this. If facing the truth would make them feel defective, then the truth itself may be bent until it feels survivable. And this is part of why they can speak with such certainty later. They may sound fully convinced, calm, clear, morally grounded. That certainty can make other people question your experience, especially if the relationship trained you to doubt your own memory. This is why their revised version of the past is not only a defense, it becomes a tool, a shield against accountability, a weapon for gathering sympathy, a way to recruit support and remain publicly clean while privately avoiding the deeper truth. And if you do not understand this process, it can make you feel like reality itself is slipping. But it is not your memory that is weak. It is their need for self-protection that is driving the distortion. So when a narcissist knows you are never coming back, what they secretly do is not always loud. It is often hidden inside patterns that look small from the outside, but carry a very specific purpose. They watch without speaking. They gather information without taking responsibility. They rebuild their image instead of examining their behavior. They perform strength when they feel shaken. They may disappear only to return later when they sense the timing serves them better. And through all of it, they keep trying to avoid the one truth they cannot comfortably face: that another person chose freedom, kept it, and continued living beyond their reach. That is the part that threatens them most. And once that happens, they are forced to meet a reality they have spent years trying to outrun. They are not in control. They are not all-powerful. They are not automatically unforgettable. You can leave. You can stay gone. You can heal. You can thrive. And that truth can feel far more threatening to them than rage ever could.